Honestly, I'm tired of repeating the same cycles. I wanna let it go. So here I go, life drop. Starting a new path for my fam. Finding who I am. Speaking life, loving me, even when I fall. Cause life be life in us all. Life be life in us all. Cause life be life in us all. Life be life in us all.
Hey y'all, hey, it's me, Portia O, your host of Life Be Lifin podcast. And welcome back to another installation of the Life Be Lifin podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. I am so excited to be here with you guys per usual. Today's episode is titled It's Been Complicated. Okay. I was not intending on really speaking on this. And yet here we are. So, and I feel it necessary to talk about it because it is where I'm at today in my life, and it's been where I have been. Okay. And I just want to say for myself and acknowledge for myself that it's been complicated. It has been extremely complicated. It's been a struggle all the time, right? For lack of better words, it has been complicated. And so today I'm going to speak on my own personal grief. And I thought that this would come at a different time once everything was resolved or whatever. But again, here we are. So let's talk about it. Let's get into it. But if this is your first time here, I am Portia O, and on this podcast, we talk about how life be over here, life in us via all types of relationships, situations, and everyday things we are experiencing, all while in real time healing and learning how to be a better human being. Okay, so if that's what you're about, you are right place. Welcome. Thank you for joining. And also, next segment, going into Like Be Life in Us All, hashtag Like Be Life in Us All. Hey, hashtag The Village. This is where I have you all submit news, topics, and other requests that you would like for me to talk about. Listen to my babies, okay?
Hey, it's me, Portia, host of Life Be Life podcast. Are you like podcast? Psych, it's me, Leo. Psych, it's me, Micah. Please email my mommy or DM her with whatever you want to talk about. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Because Life Be Life us all. Bye. Bye.
Aren't they the cutest little things that you have ever seen? I love them so much. Thank you, Leah and Micah. Next segment is I got some questions, y'all. Okay, so I'm always going to ask questions, and these questions are not just for me to answer, hopefully throughout this podcast, but also for you to write down and maybe ask yourself as we process what is happening. Okay, these questions are very personal. And it may be my intrusive thoughts a little bit, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that and sharing that with you guys. But these may also be questions that you have struggled or asked yourself throughout your journey of grief as well. So let's talk about it. First question: what is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? Second question: when will it end? What's wrong with me? And when will it end? When? Okay. Where am I in my grief? Okay. Where am I in my grief? Why have I been in this place for so long? It's like borderline annoying at this point. And the last question is, how can I fix this? How can I fix this? I've stated to you guys before that I am very, 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 very solution based type personality. And I'm always trying to think of ways like how to get out of this, like how to, move forward essentially. And sometimes, as I've stated before as well, that can show up, with me being avoidant or suppressing feelings and emotions and different things like that. But as of late, I have been forced, but also have chosen to deal with my ish. Okay. So here we are. Here we are. Going to the next segment. Did you know? And I'm going to combine two segments today. Did you know? And this is just my life experience. Okay. But first, did you know? If you didn't, that's okay because your girl is here to tell you something I know or have recently learned. Okay. So for me, I mean, this is something I recently learned. I think generally I knew this, done different things, CNA, medical assistant, all that type of stuff. I've dealt with death and losing of people losing things, whatever. But I've definitely read before and am somewhat knowledgeable of the grief cycle, right? Or stages of grief, whichever way you want to talk about it. The theory of grief became known as the Kubler Ross model. While it was originally devised for people who were ill, these stages of grief have been adapted for other experiences with loss too. As time went on, two more stages were added. Okay. So, according to Medical News Today, they cited symptoms of grief usually resolve after 1 to 2 years of grief. I thought that was so, like, when I read that in that article, I took a deep breath. I felt good. Um, I felt relieved. I felt seen. I So for those who don't know, I'm going through a divorce, and this week that this episode drops will be 2 years since I packed up my stuff and left. The initial packed up and left. Okay. And it was devastating to say the least, but also it's been 2 years. I can't believe it's been 2 years, like for real. And when I read that, because even some few weeks ago, I was just thinking, like, why do I still feel this way? Why am I like, it's been 2 years, girl, like, get over it. You know what I'm saying? It's something to be said about the expediency that we expect when going through certain things. But this was definitely life changing and life altering, not just for me, but my kids as well. So it's really interesting to me that I have this attitude, such as most people, that what I'm experiencing and feeling should be rushed. And I need to just kind of like get over it. You know what I'm saying? And if these last 2 years haven't been a bigger spotlight than anything else, to show me that it's not that easy. It's not that easy. And the common saying that time heals all wounds, I believe that to be true. And I don't know why I thought that this situation and circumstance would be any different. But I did. I did. And but yeah, we don't get into all the stages, and I will give my life experience throughout each stage to kind of break down where I was, where I am, and where I want to be. Okay. 1 to 2 years. Oh, that was my whole point. The 1 to 2 years thing made me feel so seen and so good because it's like I was over here rushing and thinking that I should have been past this. And to know that my feelings are validated. I didn't even see it happening, but God. Okay. Another thing I would like to point out before I go into the stages is with all of this, you could call my grief a complicated grief. Okay. Um, and with it's so many different meanings out here and so many different uh articles and write-ups and different things like that. But when I saw complicated grief, I was like, oh, I really connected with that. I felt like, yes, this has been a complicated grief for me. Unlike, season one, you guys saw my best friend, my sis, Kendra on here. We did 2-part episode telling her story of losing love via her children, her unborn children, and her husband. And then transitioning into what life is now. And me and her, like I stated in those episodes, have been like really going through this grief process together, even though her grief and her loss looks totally different than mine, as far as she doesn't have the capability to be around her person anymore. Unlike me, I have that capability to be around my person. My person is still here on this earth. Hers isn't, right? So that's two different dynamics. But it does not lessen or make that blow softer. We both are experiencing grief the way that we're experiencing grief. And I would consider my grief to be complicated for sure because it's still that space of, or was that space of the unknown. And I guess it still is that space of the unknown, what the future holds, what, you know what I'm saying? Opposed to someone losing someone and they're no longer physically here. It does not make that hurt any less, but it's a little different of the processing that the mind does. Like, man, I ain't never gonna get the chance ever again to be with that person, touch that person, see that person, any of those things, right? With mine is a little different. It's interesting. In her situation, and anybody that loses a loved one could also be a complicated grief. I'm just stating that I qualify mine as complicated for sure because it's little things that keep happening, little triggers, little moments, and I keep being revealed to them. And it's just like, wow, all of this, like from one decision, one decision, all of this has unfolded and transpired. And it's just interesting. It's very interesting. That's why I titled this episode, It's Been Complicated. It has been extremely complicated for me. And I want to preface that this episode is not to dog or to minimize my ex's experience because I'm sure it has been difficult for him as well. But I'm not here to tell his story. I'm here to tell mine. Okay. And so this is just where I am. Okay. We're just going to dive on in to the stages now, and I will tell you what my experience was with each one of these stages of grief. Okay, stage one is shock. This stage may involve numbed disbelief in response to news of a loss. It may serve as an emotional buffer to prevent overwhelm. Okay. I feel like I dwelled in this stage for a minute. I dwelled in this stage for a minute. Even after we had the conversation to go our separate ways, um, I think I quickly went to, I was definitely in a state of shock. And it did serve as an emotional buffer. Um, and it was combined with anger for me. And I was just kind of like, not me. Like, this ain't like, what? You got me effed up. Like, it was a whole thing. It was like, I could show you better than I could tell you. I'm going to stand on business. You know what I'm saying? I had that type of attitude, but I think it was also a level of shock there. And I was in disbelief. I was in like, whatever, like in this moment, it is what it is. I couldn't believe what I was hearing and experiencing in that moment. And so I went straight to my main defense mechanism, which is to be angry and act like I'm good. Like it's whatever. You know what I'm saying? So I stayed in that place for a minute, but it quickly transitioned to stage two, which is denial. And denial is outlined as it may be until refuting the reality of the loss or any associated feelings. Once the individual accepts reality, they can move forward through the healing process. Shock and denial help people manage the immediate aftermath of a loss. Man, when I tell y'all, I feel like I was in denial for like, damn. A long time. Definitely more than a year. Definitely, yeah, it was more than a year for me. I think that, the shock value of it all and the more decisions and moves we made, the more I was just still in that state of anger and like whatever, you know what I'm saying? But in actuality, I was in denial and so much in denial that I was reaching and grasping at straws, trying to reconcile the situation. I was constantly talking to people in my inner circle, people that knew us, loved us, helped us, and even reaching out to people on his side, trying to get someone to do something to help, right? And it was very, I was in denial. And me and him had conversations multiple times since the initial me leaving and um me checking to see if what he wanted really was what he wanted. I was really in a state of denial, and that anger was still there for sure. Because every time I would talk to somebody, I was just like overly expressive and just like, I can't believe this. It was a very difficult season. I tell people all the time now, my friends that have caught me later on in this journey or process, um, that when early on when I was experiencing this and I was sitting in the Starbucks and working, and I would be there, sometimes took my therapy calls or whatever, because it was during the time that my baby was in school, and that's the only place I had to be to do that. And so I'll be sitting there taking the calls, and or just talking to my friends and family and crying and writing in my journal, and you say it's tear stained pages, and like I was so expressive. I was like so overwhelmed, and I think I was trying to rationalize the irrational because it really felt like I was in a freaking dream. Like it really felt like I was living in an alternate universe or reality. Like this could not possibly be my life at this particular time. And it was. And so it was I think I was in a state of denial for a very long time. Like, I really can't believe this ninja ain't. I really can't believe he trying to. Like, what? Like, he said what he said and he's standing on it. Like, I just could not believe that. And even up till recently, I feel like I still had those thoughts and feelings. Like, I could not believe that this was his stance and this is what he really wanted. And not to be like, I felt like I was just that great, but also I did feel like I was just that great. But who knew that all of this would propel me and to my journey, further deeper into my journey of healing. Again, I told y'all before I had started, my healing journey prior to that. But when I really started therapy was 2019. This is 2021. And maybe I was even in denial that I could handle all this on my own. I was in denial that the choice that I made to go sleep on my mother's couch was temporary. Like I really thought it was temporary. I did not think that this was a long-term thing. I packed up a few things for dramatic effect the first day. I did not think that this was going to lead me where it led me to. Talk about working in our impulsive mindsets, right? Talk about lack of self control and discipline and different things like that. Like, I, we all can be very flawed, regardless if we want to acknowledge it or not. And I still had the mindset all the while that I was being the best wife possible. And for it all to come crashing down on me. And even in that moment of shock and denial and anger, I still felt like I was the best thing. And is okay. But I really needed to be pushed essentially off the ledge to really, really deep dive into who Portia was and is, right? But that was just a casualty. I was gonna say a casualty of war. Uh, but it's the best part of all of this, I feel, that has happened because it really made me face myself. It really made me look in the mirror. It really made me sit back. It gave me and allowed me time to process, to heal, to, fix some things that were broken within, So it's something to be said about that. It really is. It's something to be said about that. But that denial, child, even up till recently, I've been having to tell my story like, yeah, I was married, or I am legally still married, but we haven't been together almost 2 years, and blah 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 blah. Just running the whole story down to them, and they just like, man, this sounds like it should not be happening. And I think they be in a state of shock and denial too. But you know, tis is life. Tis is life. So yeah, it's definitely still been a level of denial. That stage is such, it's like freaking quicksand, man. Like I don't know how to pull myself up out of it or how to get up out of it for sure. But I was definitely dwelling there for a very, 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 very long time. Okay. So move on to the next stage, which is anger. Like I said, that's crazy. 'Cause, I mean, I looked at these, but I didn't really look at these. I feel like all three of those stages were like intermingling for me. Cause I was just like, me? And they're like, I know you lying. I know you lying. You don't want this. But also you got me effed up. All like in the same breath. Back to back to back. Like what? It really felt like that for me. The individual may direct their anger towards the person who died, doctors, family members, or even religious entities or their exes. Okay. This replaces the numbness of shock and denial. It is important to address the anger. Child, y'all heard me just tell y'all at the beginning of this season, season 2, I talked about I'm not angry. Am I? Like I still was confused about that. I never, throughout all of that, viewed myself at that time. It was happening as being angry. I was just being regular Portia. I was just being me. What are you talking about? But I was definitely angry. I was so angry. And it like hit me like a ton of bricks when I experienced that before I shot that episode. And this was just last year. It was closer to the 2 year mark than anything. So think about that. Okay. Think about that mindset. We don't really see ourselves until we see ourselves. All this time, I was just like, that was just a moment. It's so interesting to me. The mind is so interesting to me. How we process things. And this is why I tell people all the time. I'm so interested in people. This is why I love meeting new people. This is why I'm always open to receive new people and people in general because I find it interesting. This is why I love to have conversations and have dialogue with people from all walks of life because I find it interesting how we all process things with our minds. Now, I'm sitting over here now because I have acknowledged and am knowledgeable of my actions and the way that I felt at that time and how I was showing up. But in that moment, what? It's just a moment. That's how I've reconciled me acting out in anger in the past as it was just a moment. That does not make me an angry person. That does not make me a person that's filled with hate and disdain for people. That doesn't, I'm not that person. What are you talking about? I'm a sweetie pie. I'm the nicest person you'll ever meet. Okay. Like you could not have told me that. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm not angry. Like, but the reality is, I just did not process it. I did not think in my mind that Portia is angry. I never felt that way about myself. I never thought that way about myself. Did I have an angry moment? Yeah. Did I have a moment of acting out? Yes. But that's not the totality of me. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, in those moments, I think I was angry. But now looking back on, I'm like, oh, girl, you were so angry. Why are you so angry? What in life has happened to you that made you respond this way? Like I said at the top of this, um, it was a defense mechanism because you got me effed up if you think I'm gonna sit here and let you play me. All while I was playing me because I could have just been raw and vulnerable and exposed in that moment. But since you have hit me with such vulgarity by saying that you no longer want to participate in this marriage, but that is you want to fight. Now, I didn't physically fight him. I'm just saying that's how it came to me. That's how I received it. Like, oh, you don't want me? Bet. Let's go. You got me effed up. Like I went straight to my defense mechanism because when I was being vulnerable and telling you I'm willing to work on whatever it is, I'm willing to fight for our marriage. I've been fighting for our marriage. I want you to have that same attitude, go get itness about it. And I wasn't getting that. And the reality is, I had not been getting that for, some years. And it was just abundantly clear that the conversation needed to be had. And we did have it. And the response that I received was not the one that I wanted. I wanted him to say, yes, I want to fight for you. Yes, this is just important to me. Yes, this means the world to me. Yes, I can show up differently. Yes, I'm going to take accountability for my lack of whatever, whatever, whatever. But that didn't happen. It was just, yeah, no, I don't think I can do this anymore. I'm not. Mm-mm. And I was like, wait, what? I thought me and you will never part. Like, what are we talking about? I took my vows seriously. I took them too hard. So, yeah, I'm angry because I thought this time was different. You showed me different. You actually chose me. You chose to marry me. You chose to be with me and have a family with me, to build with me, do all of the things. We talked about everything. And now you're blocking me. Now you're cutting me off. Now you're rejecting me like everyone else did. It triggered me because I was used to this feeling. I was used to people not seeing me fully or being seen fully. But I thought you did. I thought you were different. And for you to say this, I'm like, oh no, he gotta be the denial. Oh, he just having a moment. He just having a moment. He'll be all right. But also, you got me effed up. So I'm out to leave. Because what you think, we gonna be roommates? It's a no for me, dog. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why I said the impulsiveness of it all. Like, we gotta stop making rash decisions in hurt moments. Um, whew. And that's the whole thing. My anger was loud. It had been for years. It wasn't just in that moment, but anytime we had a disagreement, anytime something didn't necessarily go my way, anytime I felt like I wasn't being heard or seen, it would show up in an attitude. And then you ask me why I got an attitude, now I'm angry because you got me effed up. It's always been that stance. Always been that stance that you got me effed up. All my life, I had to fight. Seriously, felt like Sophia in within my relationships and situationships because I did not want to be hurt again. So I'm gonna default to my defense mechanism, which is to fight. I rarely ran away from stuff. I want to fight. And again, it doesn't have to be a physical fight. It's, and like I said, I told my friends and stuff before, and I told you guys too, I've never had a physical fight head on, like fighting people like that. I grew up in the hood, that's essentially quote unquote a rite of passage, you know what I'm saying? But that's never been my experience because I always had a mouth on me. So I could cut you down with my mouth. Like, what are we talking about? My tongue was lethal. But was that right? No, it was not. It was not. And now I know that. And I knew that. I did not know that initially because I was used to dealing with people like that, right? Defense mechanism. But then the more we talked, I'm like, okay, I have to stop. I have to break this down. But also, when you lack tools to do certain things, it's one thing to gain the knowledge of something. I know you don't like this. Okay, cool. It's another thing to actually utilize some tools and skills to help you not do those things anymore. And I think that's what a disconnect was for me. Like, I am hearing you and I'm going to try to not do those things. I am going to not do those things because you asked me not to. But also, I lack the tools to help me. I had nothing to put in the replacement of that. Therefore, when it happens again, I will try to just hold my tongue, hold my tongue, hold my tongue. And maybe, like y'all know, your girl can talk. So that's never been my strong suit. Okay. I used to be the kid in school that got good grades, but always got checks on their report card because Portia talked too much. Wrote it on in the report card, Portia talks too much. She needs to stop talking too much. She needs an attitude adjustment. That was always what they wrote. Shout out to Mr. Voorhees. It was a whole thing. It was a whole thing. And when you lack the tools and the skills that you need in order to be greater, you will automatically default to what you've always utilized, what you've always done. And or you will just dwindle away little by little. It's still not a healthy, you know what I'm saying, use of you. So it's something to be acknowledged. But like I stated, I talked about my anger in I can't even think of the number episode in season 2. Go listen to that episode as I deep dive into my anger. But it was directed at him. It was directed at his family. It was directed at his friends. It was directed at any and everybody I felt that was not really helping me during this, you know. Um, but mainly it was him. Mainly. Okay. Going into stage number 4, bargaining. Okay. Bargaining involves thoughts such as, I will do anything if you take away the pain. This stage may come at any point in the grieving process. It is frequently accompanied by guilt. I did bargaining with him. I did bargaining with God. I mean, even up until recently, I was like, God, please just allow me to stop feeling this way. Like, it's been so long. Like, why do I still feel this way? I don't, like, please take the pain. Me and my friends had a burn session for the end of 2024. And I wrote on one of my things to let go. The burn session was essentially us writing things down on a piece of paper that we wanted to leave in 2023 and not carry over into 2024 with us. Um, Obviously, this is not like, I'm gonna write it magically. It's just gonna poof disappear out of my life, right? Like when you light the paper on fire and it like it slowly burns away, but it burns away. But it's not that simple. And even in that, there's the message. Okay, thank you, Jesus. Because the paper I thought prior to when I came up with the idea to my friends, like, we're just gonna light the paper and the paper gonna, you know what I'm saying? You've seen fire attach itself to things and it like just goes up and be done. Obviously, whatever. It will consume the thing that you put the fire to. And but with this paper, it's revelation and everything. With this paper, I lit the paper and it slowly burned away. And this is just a regular sheet of paper. And I'm thinking again prior to this, hello, this is the same thing with the process of this grief. I'm thinking prior to this that it won't be so long. It will quickly go away. The feelings that I'm feeling and everything will eventually just go away. But it will be sooner than later. Okay. Definitely wasn't expecting 2 years or more. These symptoms. Okay. But the paper slowly burned away. It took its time as I don't know if y'all ever seen anything on fire, but it took its time as the fire. I started it at a corner and it went up the corner, just and went up the paper. It was just going up the paper slowly, 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 slowly. And sometimes things that we want to magically just go up in flames and disappear and quickly go away, it takes time to burn off. It takes time to destroy. It takes time to heal. And yeah. So I wrote on that paper that I wanted to let go all pain and hurt attached to my marriage. Like I said, I'm entering to year 2 of this, and I don't want to be in the same mindset, the same space emotionally, mentally that I have been these last 2 years. And I want to just leave it there. But just like that paper took time to burn, so does these feelings, so does this these stages, the process. It's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen magically. It is a process. It takes time. And that's another thing. We have to be careful about what we ask God. And I think I spoke to that before. Be prepared to receive whatever it is that you ask for. Because I think most times we ask for things without understanding. But I understood because of the things that I had been through and experienced that me asking him to take the pain and hurt away that I felt towards my marriage meant that he is going to allow some things to happen to see if if I meant what I said. I understood that asking this meant that I may be triggered again, that I may be put in a position that I have to make a decision on how Portia is going to show up in this moment. Am I going to handle this differently or am I going to stay stagnant? Am I going to stay in that place? Am I going to remain in that stage? So essentially, it could, it's the bargaining for me. If you just remove this, I'll do this. If you just help me in this moment, I will whatever, and like I stated, I've done that with him, like, to an extent. But yeah, it's just, moments of hoping and wishing and wanting a different outcome. Um, and maybe if I showed you this, you would change your mind. No, no. But it is a stage. I've been there, done that. Okay. And whether it be verbally towards him or me just making up a decision in my mind that I'm no longer going to show up this way because it's yielded me nothing but more hurt and pain. So I'm just going to avoid it, or I'm just going to suppress it, or I'm just going to ignore it. Right. But no. No. But yeah, I've done a little bargaining and I've done it with God, mainly with God. Like, oh, just take this away. But in order for him to take it away, I got to feel it away. I have to feel these feelings. I have to address these mindsets. I have to acknowledge the hurt. I have to do some work with that. That's the only way he's going to take it away. That's the only way it goes away. It's if I feel it away, if I address the thing, if I face it head on. It does not go away just because I put that request to his ear. The understanding of the request is that I have to face said thing and I have to process and I have to get it all out by way of journaling or expressing myself with family and friends, whatever it is, it's now my responsibility to handle, and God will do the rest. Faith without works, y'all. Faith without works. So, the next stage, stage 5, is depression. That song just popped in my head. All by myself. Don't wanna be all by myself. Why that song just popped in my head when I said depression? At this stage, a person may experience feelings of emptiness and intense sadness. They may also withdraw from daily activities and things they once enjoyed. While this stage is difficult, it is a necessary step toward healing. Whew. Wow. So I've disclosed with you guys before that I deal with depression. Even prior to this, I feel like I've pretty much dealt with depression majority of my adult life and probably in high school as well. But anywho, we're here now. And my depression being linked to my divorce is a very real thing. Very real thing. Very real thing. My therapist had even disclosed to me that I was filtering my worldview through the lens of what I was currently going through, which is my divorce. And it's been difficult. It's been complicated. It has been a roller coaster of emotions. And I thought I was depressed before. And while I was in my marriage, I was depressed. But outside of it, man, like a wrecking ball just kept knocking me down and knocking me down and knocking me down. And I did isolate, but I feel like, in my mind, in my mind, I feel like it wasn't purposeful. I feel like I was much more outgoing and different things like that, and I still can be, but I isolated because of circumstances, right? Me viewing what I was experiencing and thinking like I gotta make ends meet, I gotta figure this out, and most days I didn't feel like getting up out the bed. Most days I wanted to just give up, not to the point of suicidal thoughts or anything like that. That's not the way that my depression works or my mental health works. But it was just like, man, this all really on me. Like, and I think with the role that he has played since the separation really intensified that thought for me, and it's made it even more difficult because it's like, and I feel like that within itself has triggered the stages of grief over for me. Like I was in shock that he was showing up this way. I was in denial that he was showing up this way. I tried to, I was angry extremely that he was showing up this way. I was trying to bargain to help him not show up this way. And yet, and still, here we are at depression. And it really did make me even more depressed. Like, man, did I choose wrong? My picker was really that off. Like, I mean, I know I've made some dumb decisions in the past, and I really thought this time was different, you know? But my depression got really bad. And now at this point, these last 2 years, with my babies being the age that they are, they have experienced seeing me depressed. And seeing me and them wanting to fill that void and me reassuring them that that's not their job or their role. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't never a moment that I'm telling them like, yeah, this and that. But also I am having more conversations with them now than ever to let them know that you know, mommies get really sad sometimes. And to educate them and help them process their feelings as well, right? And I did stop trying to hang around my friends so much because of my circumstances. And I felt like, well, I'm not really in a position to be hanging out and doing things and all that type of stuff because I gotta I gotta get it. I gotta figure this out on my own now. We were supposed to be a team. We were supposed to be going through this together. And now I'm having to make decisions and experience some stuff and be in solitude. Like that wasn't a part of the plan. And it was a very difficult stage for me and still can be a very difficult stage for me. And I do agree that it is definitely without those moments of depression, without those moments of this stage of grief and the sadness and the emptiness and all of that stuff, it would not have led me to love how to love Portia, learn how to love Portia all on my own. It would not have led me to taking myself on dates and or just getting myself some food, ordering in, dropping the kids with mom, and relaxing and cuddling up on the couch, lighting some candles and romanticizing myself. It would not have led to that. It would not have led to me really digging deep and being expressive. And writing down some tough realizations and having those conversations with myself and being open and honest, it would not have led there. But I had to go through them valleys to get to the hills, for which cometh my help. My help comes from the Lord. And for that I'm grateful. So that depression stage is definitely an ass kicker, okay? Uh, and I thank God for my village, my therapist, um, and most importantly, um, my kids, and most importantly, God, because it has, and I have like dealt with this throughout. I haven't had a depressive episode for a minute now, but I had just recently realized that I was full blown into one, maybe in October, maybe November. But I feel like I pulled myself up out of it before I got to December. So I thank God for that. But yeah, man, that depression has definitely been a stage that I constantly go in and out of, for sure. And then the sixth stage is testing. Oh, Lord. Testing, testing, 1, 2, testing, 1, 2. This stage, testing, is the process of trying to find solutions that offer a means of dealing with loss. Someone may drift in and out of other grieving stages during this time. Well, is that what I've been doing? I think I've been in the testing stage for a minute. Now, I just told y'all that I've been in that depression stage for a minute. I've been in that anger stage for a minute. I've been in that bargaining stage, the shock, and like I feel like all of them just kind of been like, ugh. But this would make sense that it has been the testing stage outside of the initial loss. Um, it has been, oh Jesus. I have been in the testing stage even up until recently. Ooh, he he just tested me with another thing dealing with my marriage, and I was just like, normally I'll be all up in anger, all up in like, look, we need to, if you just do this, I could do it. Like, let me know, y'all, I've been in the testing stage. Because Lord knows I have been tested, okay? I have been tested beyond measure. But with every testing comes a blessing. And I for sure needed to learn the lessons attached to the testing. And I feel like because I have changed my mindset, I am conquering these tests. Like I'm running, and the hurdles, which are the tests, keep coming. And I'm just, whoosh. Okay, I cleared that one. Whoosh. Okay, I cleared that one. Whoosh. I cleared that one. Okay, cool. Man, Jesus. That does not discount any hurt or pain that I feel in the midst of these tests. My feelings are still very valid, but I think it's the way of how I handle these tests. And that's why it triggers me to go into these other areas of the stages of grief. Man, talk about tests, okay? Because God definitely has been testing me over and over and over again. Even up till recently, like with my forgiveness. And I thought I didn't have any unforgiveness in my heart towards anybody, but again, the reality was, yes, I do. And my ex being one of them. I I didn't know that I was holding unforgiveness towards him, but I was because he wasn't showing up the way that I think that he should, i.e., to me and or our children. But God and his grace is sufficient. And just like God gave me that sermon and told me, just as he gives me grace for my sins, for I knew not what I was doing, he also needs me to give him grace. And so, even up to recently, with this new thing that he has decided to do, I'm giving him grace. I have to give him grace. My mindset is a little different this time. And what it will usually set me down the path of anger and depression and all the things, I have finally come to stage 7, which is acceptance. This is the final stage of the grieving process. Acceptance does not mean people feel okay about the loss. I want to repeat that again for the people in the back. Acceptance does not mean that people feel okay about the loss. Rather, it means they realize the loss is their new reality. Woo! They understand that while life will not continue as it did before, it will go on. Life does not continue the way that it did before, but it will go on. This stage may involve reorganizing roles and forming new relationships. My God, on today. Y'all, I'm not lying to y'all when I say that God gives me these things. I mean, it'd be like life application, and then here I am processing it. And I felt like, you know, again, when this last thing was told to me, and my attitude or my mindset was just kind of like, okay, maybe, you know, what you need will be there waiting for you. Maybe this will propel you into your healing journey. Maybe this would give you what you feel like you've been missing and what you've been looking for. I really hope and pray that, because I have nothing else. And the reality is that I have been doing all that I can do with what I have. And what I have, I am managing. And I'm becoming a better manager of the things, opposed to looking at the loss and looking at what I don't have and hyper focusing on the past and or future of the what ifs and what God is going to bless me with. I am now settling into the reality of my life. And the reality is I've been doing it. Yes, I've had help. Thank you again to my village. I've had God using people and vessels to bless me and my girls. And even though it may not look how any of us may want it to, this is the reality. And I've been knocking it out the park. I'm accepting that the reality is what I was afraid of, which was I can't do this by myself. I didn't sign up for this to be a single mother. I didn't do make these decisions to incorporate these little human beings into my life because I was going to be handling this by myself. That was never my intention. But guess what? You've been handling it. You, you, Portia, have been showing up. You've been doing the things since the moment they were born until now. Like you have and are more than capable of handling this. And yes, this was not a part of the plan that you had in mind. But I have everything that I need in order to accomplish this life. And just like God blessed me before, He will bless me again. But again, we're not going to hyper focus on the future. We're going to pay attention to the present, the reality, real time. And the reality is acceptance. I told my therapist the new thing that was said to me and my reaction, and she was like, "We're proud of you. You've reached the level of acceptance. But I can still hurt. I can still cry if I want to. This is just where I am in my grieving cycle." I made it, y'all. Going into the 2 year mark, I have made it to acceptance. I have no more anger to give towards this. I can't ask God to help me with my anger and still decide to dwell there in it. And it's so easy to dwell there in it because again, that's my default. Like that's where I've lived for so long. But I literally don't have it in me anymore to give. Does it bother me? Yes. I can acknowledge my feelings and still not act out. I can acknowledge my feelings and be like, you know what? I don't like this is making me feel really bad. But you know what? That's okay. And combat those negative feelings with some positive ones. My kids and I have never not had a home, a warm bed, or a meal to eat. We have never been without transportation. We have never had to be without, yes, everything ain't peachy keen as I would like it to be, but we are blessed immensely. Like we are beyond overflowing. And what else can I ask for? It's not the ideal setup of a two-parent household, but it is the ideal setup with a mother who is on a healing journey that is going to be able to instill the tools and the knowledge and the wisdom and show them the way because I'm doing the work. They're going to have a healthy mentor And what else can we ask for? So, this has just been my life experience. This is where I am in my grieving process. And I thank God that I am finally at a level and a stage of acceptance. I'm sure something else will happen in the future that will piss me off, that would make me question, but also if I continue thinking with the mindset of people know not what they do or lack true understanding, and who am I to judge and not extend grace when God does it for me every day? I think I'll be okay. I know I will be okay. And I am okay, which is why I stated I am okay. But there will be moments of not being okay. And like I said in season one, it's okay to not be okay. But I think what's important is we acknowledge the feelings, we acknowledge all that we're experiencing and not standing in expectation for it to look differently because of what our preconceived notions told us, right? So here we are. I'm grateful and I'm thankful. And yeah, I hope that this helps somebody as much as it has helped me and it is helping me. And it's okay if others can't see or understand where you are in your grieving process. It's not for them to understand, it's for you. It's for you. Even if you've lost sight of you, that could be a loss. It's okay to grieve the old you. It's okay. It's important that you now choose to show up for you, to build up you, to heal you. It takes time, it's a process, but it's possible. So there's that. Thank y'all for joining me today as we move to Speak Live. This is the segment where I leave you with a call to action for yourself, not just for you, but for me as well. So I'll leave you with these words to hold on to until next time. Today's Speak Life affirmation is I know that anything I lose is being replaced by something much better. Again, today's Speak Life affirmation is I know that anything that I lose is being replaced by something much better. You heard it, you say it, you write it down, and remind yourself to speak that thing and make it happen because like be life in us all. I love y'all. God loves you best. See you next week.